Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our match reaction show. I believe it's the first time I'm doing an MLS game. It's not really an MLS game, but really a game between two MLS teams. I think the first time doing the match reaction for that. But it's finished Dallas 4 into Miami 4 into Miami winning it 5-3 on penalties in the end. It was a great game, and I think it was a good. If you love attacking football, then it was a great advert to watch MLS for you. It was a flawed exhibition in some ways, and those often make for the best games. So, I mean, if you're looking for really good technical football, very high level football, I don't think this game would have been for you. But if you enjoy a lot of goals, if you enjoy some, error-strewn performances, I think you would have enjoyed this game. But I mean, all of that set aside, I think ultimately the game was decided by two people, and it was decided by Lionel Messi. It was magical, brilliant, sensational, whatever you want to call it. Had a hand in all four goals, which is brilliant. But I think a lot of people might say the game changed in the 80th minute when Farfan scored that own goal. But actually, the game turned in the 70th minute, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let's get to the first half and the first goals there. I mean, Jesus Ferreira, I think one of the players who probably will have to take responsibility for this defeat is probably Jesus Ferreira, because he had 3 billion chances and he should have taken at least one of them. And we'll be talking about a completely different game today, but he didn't, and that is very, really sad to see, especially for somebody who's supposedly one of the captains. He started the game as the captain, and for him not to be taking on that responsibility is very, very disappointing. But he missed his chance, and then suddenly Miami go up the other end, and on transition, Messi scores a beautiful goal. It almost came out of nowhere, because I thought Dallas actually started quite well. They probably should have been 1-0 up even before Miami scored, but they didn't take their chance, and then Miami did and made it 1-0. It was a good finish from Lionel Messi. Was it offside? I've seen those given, but I kind of understand why they overturned it. I don't think he was necessarily impeding play, so I'll say that it wasn't offside. It shouldn't have been given offside in the first place. I've seen those given. And when they're given, they're rarely overturned. But I think in this case, it was the right decision that it was overturned, and it was 1-0. The goal stood, and you almost felt at that point that Miami would just counter their way to a victory, because all they had to do at that point was really stay compact, stay in shape, let Dallas play around them, and then use Messi's passing ability on the transition to kind of open spaces up. And for a while, it did look like it would work, until Dallas made it 1-1. A great counter there, by the way. It was a good pass. I think it was Velasco made the pass, and the cross comes in from that left-hand side. It's a very good finish from Quignon. He actually had to adjust midway, because I don't think the pass was perfect for him, but he adjusted and he put in a wonderful finish, and it's 1-1. And then suddenly it becomes 2-1 after that. Another counter attack, and again, Ferreira really made a mess of it almost, but Kamungo saved it by, with that wonderful turn that he put in, which we forgot in the end of this game, but it was a beautiful turn. He makes it 2-1, and suddenly you're thinking, is an upset on? And if you thought an upset was on, you would have thought more in the second half, when Velasco with that free kick that evaded everyone and went in, and it became 3-1. At that point, you would have been forgiven for believing, and then of course. Miami made a substitution in midfield, which they needed to make. A new midfielder comes in, he makes it, 18-year-old youngster comes in, makes it 3-2. I think it was poor defending, and again it was Messi with the pass, a raking pass to Alba, and then Alba puts in a nice cross that Kaminsky is there to just finish it home and makes it 3-2. And comeback was on, maybe. And at that point, Velasco once again steps up with another count. It was a beautiful run by the Velasco, which again might have forgot, but it been a beautiful run with the way that he got past the player, got past the Miami midfield, just pushed them aside. It was 4-2. And it was an own goal that at the end of it, which I thought Calendar should have saved that, because it's quite far enough. Yes, he comes back and he makes a tackle, but you think Calendar, I think he just sees, I don't know what he was seeing, because I don't think his vision was impaired. I think he just wasn't sure where the ball was going. I don't know why he didn't react quickly enough to make that save, because it's a save he should be making. It's not a close range own goal. It was actually quite far away. But he couldn't save it, and 4-2, and you think like luck is on Dallas's side, because they went 3-2, and then they suddenly got a very a gift of a goal to make it 4-2. But then the turning point of the game, was Velasco coming off, because as soon as Velasco came off, the game turned, because Busquets was Velasco was tracking Busquets, but he was also making sure that Busquets was tracking him. And that really opened space up in midfield for Dallas to do the kind of things that they were doing, because they could play on the transition because of Velasco. As soon as he went off, his replacement really couldn't do that. He couldn't do both. And Miami gained control of that midfield. They also switched to a 3-4-2-1, which meant that Alba and Taylor, they had the freedom of the parkway to go bomb forward. And so Busquets in a two-man midfield, right? He didn't get he didn't get overawed because he didn't have to deal with Velasco. If Velasco was on the pitch with the 3-4-1-2, things could have been different. But once he came off, the whole game opened up for Miami, and Messi took advantage of it. Of course, a poor goal to concede. Again, another own goal. Farfan, don't know what he was doing there with that, but it's a good. It's a free kick. It's a routine free kick. It's not a great. It's not world class. It's just a routine free kick. But Farfan just just doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying to rush in, trying to panic. Maybe there was a bit of panic as well, as it usually happens. Human nature. 4-2 up, you kind of panic, and he made it 4-3. And then the free kick comes from another free kick for Messi directly this time. I think the goalkeeper is a little bit to blame because with the left-footed free kick, it's always going to be with Messi. He almost always goes near post. He never goes far post. So I don't know why he was trying to stand far post, because you got to stand near post. Yeah, you got to trust your wall, but at the same time, if you followed Messi, you realize that mostly he always goes near post. So go near post. But he tried to go too far post, and Messi of course made it count, made it 4-4. And once it went to penalties, you always knew that Miami had the momentum, much like in the Community Shield earlier today. When you make a comeback, inevitably, if it goes to penalties, the team that has made the comeback wins the game usually, because the momentum is with them, and the momentum was with Miami, and they won. I thought the penalty that Dallas missed, I forget who the player was, but just a poor penalty. Such a rash penalty that I don't know what he was trying to do. He's towing it. He's basically on the toe. I think he's just trying to blast it through the net or something. I think the thing about that penalty, I feel and then he's young. I don't want to be too harsh, but the fact is that I think he just didn't know what he wanted to do, and he was like, I don't want to go side, so I'm going to go straight, but I know that the keeper can save it, so I'm going to go as hard as I can so that the keeper can stop it. Even if he guesses right. And so he just goes hard, but it just doesn't get a proper connection. It's just a poor penalty. And I hope that he doesn't take a penalty for a while, because that just wasn't very good. I thought the goalkeeper of Dallas, Paes could have saved a few as well. A couple, I think he definitely could have saved. He wasn't too busy trying to play mind games, and instead I actually focused on saving a penalty. I think the Busquets penalty was savable. The fourth one as well was savable, but too busy playing mind games. And so that Dallas were the makers of your own demise. You could call it a choke job if you want, and you wouldn't be wrong if you called it a choke job, because in many ways it was a choke job. But Dallas were the makers of their own demise, and if this game had been won, I would have talked about Alan Velasco, completely upstaging Messi, because for the first 70 minutes of that game, he upstaged Messi. He was the best player on that pitch, and for me, as good as Messi was, and everybody will give him the man of the match, and he deserves the man of the match. But if Dallas had won, my man of the match would have been Alan Velasco, because he was absolutely sensational in that first 70 minutes, and him going off changed the game. And that brings me to Lionel Messi. And I think today's game highlighted the issue of having Messi in your team versus the benefit of having Messi in your team, because he had a hand in all 4 goals. So there's no way that anybody can say that he's not an X factor player, that he's not contributing to Miami. He was everywhere. He was brilliant, and he was in every attacking play. All of the attack went through him, and without him on the pitch, I think Miami would have lost that game. But he minks so much that team, and is a world-class player, obviously. And he'll enjoy playing in MLS, because today's game told me that the MLS defenses, there's just no quality there to kind of deal with him. Beyond maybe maybe we'll see better in the quarterfinals and forward. But there just doesn't seem to be that kind of quality in the MLS defenses to be able to deal with him. But having said all of that, I think we got to talk about the other side. And I was thinking, and even at photo, I was thinking, if Miami lose this game, I'll talk about this, or even if Miami win this game, I'll talk about this, because this is important. What we saw in a lot of the parts of the game was Messi kind of walking. He was just walking. And this was a criticism that was leveled at him when his later days at Barcelona. It was leveled at him at PSG. The fact is that Messi is not a defensive contributor. So you require the other 10 players to contribute defensively. The problem with Miami is they also have their defense is a bit older. They're not that good. Busquets, at his age, he needs players around him to kind of cover for him as well. I mean, he was overawed completely, and Velasco had him on toast with pretty much throughout the 70 minutes that he played. And there was nothing that he could have done about that. And against a team that may have better players who can play 90 minutes, that might be a problem, because they do seem to have that issue. I don't think a 3-4-2-1 is going to solve much, because a 3-4-2-1 probably worse, because then you got Busquets playing in the midfield too, and he's never played in the midfield too, or he's never been good in the midfield too. So I don't think that's the answer. And I think Alba and Yedlin being fullbacks, they kept bombing at times. That formation, when it was a 4-3-3, it was actually more of a 4-1-2-1-2. because Messi kept cutting inside to the number 10 position, and the two wingers started, Joseph Martinez, of course, was central, and Robert Taylor kept coming inside to make it like a 4-1-2-1-2. So they were very narrow, and that meant Yedlin and Alba kept bombing forward, and that left a lot of space for Dallas to counter. And because they had a player like Velasco who could pick and who could break the press and break through the lines, they were able to quickly transition, and that was a real problem. And against other teams who might have a good midfield, and I don't know MLS that well, so I don't know what other teams could have that sort of quality, but teams that have that sort of quality in the middle, that's how they can get at Miami. Basically just defend well, and then you can counter, and there's going to be lots of space in the counter. So that is an issue. But then again, the question is, do MLS players have that kind of quality to actually exploit these kind of weaknesses, these kind of obvious weaknesses that Miami have? At the moment, I don't think so, because I think Messi is just too good for defenses, and he will create a lot of chances. And as long as, and he will take some of them, and other players, will take them. And so they will score a lot of goals. And then the question becomes, can MLS, and again, so can the MLS defenders take advantage and score more than Miami? I think that's ultimately the question. Which, I mean, today it looked like it could have happened until Velasco went off. How many other players are better than Velasco in this division? I don't know. So that's something that we'll find out. But there are obvious weaknesses. There are weaknesses to having Messi in the team defensively. But then again, you've got Messi. There's so many obvious advantages to having him, offensively as well. So I think it will eventually cancel out. I think Miami will win a lot more games than they will lose. But at the end of the day, first time that they went behind, and they still managed to find a way to win, and that will give them a lot of confidence. Of course, Dallas can be disappointed with their performance, but I think they need to look at a few players. I don't think they can simply shrug it off and say, well, Messi was brilliant and we couldn't do anything, because there was a lot that they did was a lot of the issues that were of their own making. I mean, Ferreira missing 3 chances, and Farfan giving away an own goal in a position where he should really be doing much better. The penalties were not that great. The penalty shootout wasn't that great either for them. So there's things that they need to work on, and let's see what they do. But Miami looking good. I mean, if they can somehow drag themselves into the playoff places, I wouldn't rule them out winning that MLS close season playoffs. I can see them winning that as well, because at the moment they're bottom of the table, but they can drag themselves into the playoff places. They'll be one of the favorites to win it. But let's see what happens there, of course. Anyway, share your thoughts on the game. Man of the match, Messi. I think you have to give it to him. It would have been Alan Velasco if he had played the full 90. I'm pretty certain that, but Messi, hand in all 4 goals. You can't really look past that. So he's my man of the match. Share your thoughts, of course. Do smash a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Congratulations to all Inter Miami fans making it the quarterfinals of the League's Cup, and we'll see how far they can go in that. Hopefully, they'll be favorites from here on for every game now. I can't see why they wouldn't be favorites to win this whole thing. Let's see what happens. But congratulations to you guys. Smash a like for Inter Miami, of course. Smash a like for Lionel Messi. And do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Always appreciate your support. We'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.